Hey, I'm Tommy Scoville, and you are on The Lifeboat. Sandy, Wendy, good to see you. Roberta, how are you? Natalie Strausser's here. Wendy R., glad you're here. Johnny Scoville's here, but he's here in person. Johnny, how you been?
I couldn't be any better. Are you kidding me?
That's what I'm talking about. So this is
up to a sparkling place,
right? John, good to have you here. This is going to be a lot of fun because Winchester Super X and from Mass, good to see you. We're going to get to do Sean Combs is actually in really bad shape. Laura Lou, this is not one of those clickbaity things. This dude's in bad shape. Hello, Renee B. Jennifer Minton, glad you're here. Hey, Mike Bragg. This dude's not doing well. Audra in Denver, what's happening? And I'm going to break it down for you. We'll start with the painfully obvious. We've been asking for a long time, who's taking care of this cat's money, right? Family members, which one's doing it, right? Got to be a family member taking care of all of that cash. Am I right or am I right? Hold on a second here. Ned Ryerson. That right there, folks, would be who is handling the affairs of Sean Diddy Combs. If she does not look familiar to you, her name probably will be. That is Miss Lou Taylor. Miss Lou Taylor. Sometimes she has also been referred to as, I don't know, Satan. Her birth name is Louise Mary Taylor. She's 60 years old. Started her career in 1984 working for the global firm Arthur Anderson, doing accounting and such. Ended up moving to Florida after getting married and catching a job working for in South Florida at a place called Davamos. It's a management firm owned by a wealthy family. She handled business for sports and music clients, including Uptown Records, where she met a young Sean Diddy Combs, then an intern, later a longtime client. She developed a niche in personal finances, touring, accounting, business management, and whatnot. She also has had more scandals than just about anybody you are ever going to want to meet. The Britney Spears conservatorship is probably how most of you will remember her. Took about $18 million, apparently, from Britney while Britney was not doing particularly well. She should be in jail. Well, this whole conservatorship thing is a hustle, but it's a hustle that she's been working for a long damn time. The first scandal was with Britney Spears. Alleged attempts to impose conservatorships on other celebrities. She's been rumored to have pushed for conservatorships on stars like Lindsay Lohan, Courtney Love, and Kanye West during their personal struggles. Courtney Love claimed Taylor tried to control her in the 2000s, while Kanye West accused Kim Kardashian and Kris Jenner, also two chicks with cloven feet. You know what I mean? Got those cloven hooves feet. Red, scaly, textured skin.
Bifurcated tail.
Got a bifurcated tail, carry a hay fork. I mean, we're talking about some of the most evil cats that you're ever going to want to come across. They're plotting involuntary psychiatric holds allegedly tied to Taylor. These remain unproven allegations. Oh, she denies all this garbage, right? Justin Bieber's firing of TriStar. That is the company that she founded herself that is managing Sean Combs. It's TriStar Sports and Entertainment Management. Bieber reportedly fired her in 2024 on bad terms, hiring Johnny Depp's manager instead. This came amid broader scrutiny of TriStar, including its mention in a Diddy lawsuit. Diddy portrayed it as linked to Taylor's controversies, though TriStar called it professional separation. I'm sorry, the media portrayed it that way, not Diddy. In 2024, TriStar employee Robin Greenhill, the company and Robin were named in producer Little Rod Jones's civil lawsuit, accusing Greenhill of overseeing monthly payments to sex workers via wire transfers or cash. Probably not legal, Johnny Scoville. I'm going to go out on a limb and say you can't have your management team paying off your hookers. But we'll see what happens because that case has not yet come forward. Of course, Taylor denies all of that and says, yeah, that shit didn't happen. She's been accused of exploiting vulnerable clients and faked accounts. This is lovely. In a lawsuit against TriStar by Travis Scott. If you think that's a country and western star, do you? Tell the truth.
I do.
It's not. It's a rapper.
Big rapper?
He's apparently a rapper that mixes in a lot of almost like acid rock kind of stuff in with it. Apparently, he's fairly good. I don't know. It's not really my thing. But in a lawsuit against TriStar by Travis Scott's manager, Shane Hill, The firm was accused of exploiting Hill's mental health struggles. He had anxiety and depression and whatnot, and faking financial accounts. This painted Taylor as preying on vulnerable celebrities. The Kardashian and Jenner business ties and backlash. In 2019 through 21, Taylor faced criticism for managing Kardashian's businesses with backlash from the hashtag Free Britney fans. Rumors linked her to money laundering via a fake church charity involving the Kardashians and J-Lo. The church and financial misuse allegations claim that Taylor directed Spears' finance towards tithing to her church, Calvary Chapel, Brentwood. That would be in not California, but in Tennessee, Brentwood, Tennessee. During the conservatorships, broader conspiracy theories from figures like Candace Owens. Now, I will say, I'm saying this just because Candace Owens is very well known and she said this stuff. I don't often jive with a lot of the stuff that Candace Owens says, but we're going to go with it anyway because she has said it and she's pretty well known. But Candace Owens alleges that Lou Taylor has ties to the Central Intelligence Agency, Jeffrey Epstein, and Ghislaine Maxwell, including trafficking Britney Spears. That's what Candace Owens says. These are unsubstantiated, and obviously TriStar and Taylor deny this. Why are we bringing this up? And don't go away because we got some really wild stuff. This is just the beginning. But why are we bringing this up? Here's why we're bringing it up. Because TMZ reported, and you got to research if TMZ tells you that today is Thursday, you might want to consult a calendar, maybe call a friend. You know what I'm saying? I don't put a lot of faith in TMZ. However, TMZ has reported that there are people not getting paid by Sean Diddy Combs. Some of them are attorneys. That's not a good thing when you're facing up to 100 civil lawsuits. But allegedly, there have been lawyers that aren't getting paid. There's also been staff that is not getting paid as well. And some of them bailed, allegedly. A couple of them just said, I'm out of here, man. You're not paying me. I'm gone. There's been a lot of other really weird things like the kids are going to very expensive schools and you have to pay for that. And people closely associated with the family allegedly have had to fit the bill for that stuff until the people at TriStar could reimburse them, which they've had to kind of wrestle in the street to make happen. I mean, not a good thing either. It's also not a good look. So why the hell is Diddy not paying his bills, especially bills that seem kind of important, right? I mean, I'm not trying to be a jerk, but these are not the kind of people you want to blow off. Lawyers don't usually wait until a case is over before they get paid. Oddly enough, guess who was the spokesperson about this when people started to complain about not getting paid and TMZ started talking about it? You guessed it. The same person that allegedly was involved in the whole payout thing, right? With the person who's being sued by Little Rod. That same person said, hey, everyone's getting paid. Sean Combs is still completely in control of his own finances from Fort Dix. Apparently Diddy wanted that because why else would they have said that? Because obviously he ain't controlling his finances from deep inside Fort Dix. However, what was said was everyone is getting paid after the jobs are completed and a evaluation of the accounts are done, like a standard accounting is done. You're not paying lawyers after the jobs are done. These people charge upwards of $1,000 an hour, some of them. By the way, the number of lawyers that have had to be hired for all of the pending lawsuits. Let's have a little fun with this, shall we? Because this man is in really bad shape. And I have done a show on this in the past, but let's do it again because Diddy's finances are changing over time. Let's see here. This is the inflows. Get back there. This is the inflows, right? This would be the cash coming into the Sean Diddy Combs empire. Music royalties and publishing, somewhere between $1 to $3 million monthly. Fashion and residuals between $1 to $2 million monthly. Jet rentals, net cost after via the charters. He still owns the Gulfstream G550. Sold his other one. Doesn't have that anymore. Somewhere between $3 to $5 million a month. Other intellectual properties, collectibles, and investments, somewhere between $2 to $4 million a month. And one-time asset sales, right? Him dumping off things that he needs in order to kind of keep everything afloat. This is the outflows. So the inflows, he's getting cash coming into his empire somewhere between $8 to $15 million a month. Not a bad living, Johnny Scoville. You'd have to budget the hell out of that, but I think you could probably live on it.
Pay me for a month or two.
I mean, you, not Sean Diddy Combs, because his outflow currently is between $30 to $60 million a month.
Ouch.
Now, I was told there'd be no math, but that is a deficit that is pretty decent size. Legal fees and settlements between $10 to $30 million a month. Civil suits are dominating that. Property upkeep on his 3 mansions, we're going to break those down, but between $4 to $6 million a month. Bummer. Family support, he's got 7 kids, somewhere in the $2 million a month range. Lifestyle and staff, this just gets freaking ridiculous. And this, folks, starts to look like that, right? This is Diddy's annual cash flow.
And PR is only 2.2 to 5. That would be a bunch.
Well, look, I will say this. I have downplayed the dog shit out of the amount of money that Diddy is putting out, and I have been as generous as possible with the money coming in. For instance, it says that I put down that he's getting $1 to $3 million coming in from the music catalog. Truth of the matter is, and I can document it, but we're doing this so that no one goes, what the? All right, look, about 1.2 million annually is what he's making on that. He's only got about 120 grand a month coming in off of the Bad Boy catalog. That doesn't mean that's all it's making. But as it turns out, Warner Music owns a crap load of that. So off the top, he has to give most of it away. But this is the annual cash flow imbalance, right? In millions. About 10 million. This looks like about $35 million a year in imbalance. Now, if you go, I don't know, Tommy, kind of sounds ridiculous, I wouldn't blame you, right? That does sound kind of almost overinflated, right? But let's look at where this cat is. Because when the lawsuit that was filed by Cassie Ventura, when that lawsuit was filed, his net worth, are you ready? $740 million. He had claimed, right, that it was higher than that he had $1 billion, but Forbes and places like that put him at about $740 million. Once again, you'd have to budget that, but I think you could live on it. That was 3 years ago. Now they say his net worth is somewhere between 3 and 400 million, with most serious analysts saying 300 million. How does that break down? Well, it breaks down something like this. His real estate and collectibles, that would be that pink section right there. That makes up a crap load of what he owns, right? His music catalog would be the light blue. You see that? Now that little purple sliver there adds up to about $10 million, and that's cash. That's what Diddy's got laying around. That dude that was a billionaire could put his hands on $10 million if he had to today. If he had to start getting rid of the other stuff, now that yellow section right there is what the payout was from Diageo, right? Trading symbol DEO, monster of a company. They bought out his alcohol brands. He had Ciroc, he had De Leon. They bought him out for $200 million. Now, allegedly, that buyout was for cash. But I have found people that said that the day that he got that cash buyout, he bought stock back in that company. If that is the truth, that's a bummer because it was $140 a share trading that day, Johnny Scoville.
What's it down to now, sir?
That's the right question. It's down to about 85. Now, we don't know where those investments lie, but the only rumor that I could come across to where he is actually investing that money would lie there. If you think Revolt, gone. Sean John has been dropped from everywhere. He still makes a little bit of money on it, but the money he's making on it is because there were bunches of stock that's left over, and it's getting wholesaled out the back door like he works for a gangster. He has other valuables, right? But this little purple sliver right there is the real issue because he has to start selling off the stuff that he owns because that little purple sliver of $10 million ain't going to float the 100 cases that he's got to fight in court, right? This is really, really bad stuff for Sean Diddy Combs. Oh, no. Right? Everyone's a little bummed out about that. I know I can tell. I really can. So let's do this real quick. This is based on 100 lawsuits. We know for a damn fact right now that there's 80 some odd lawsuits that are already moving through the system. However, they're saying that it could be as many as 150 by the time it's all done. So I ran the numbers at 100. And I said, let's say 25% of them get thrown the hell out. Now, to be really honest with you, most of them get thrown out before they ever get into the court process. A judge has to look at it and say, there's enough merits to go forward. But if 25% get thrown out or dismissed, that's 25 cases, he's still going to have to pay 50 grand per case in fees. because your attorney doesn't go, well, we'll just get this thrown out by filing motions and doing all this and not charge you for it. Let's say that 50% are settled out of court. That would be 50 cases. Now, they're going to have to do that. They're going to have to settle a lot of these out of courts. The only way he's not going to go bankrupt is to make sure that these don't drag on, because the legal fees will kill him. So the people that will take a payout, they need to get that done quickly. Unfortunately, he's still going to have to drop about $200,000 per case, plus the average settlements, right? $5 million per case based on reported ranges of 1 to 20 million. How do we know that? Because he's already paid somebody off for at least one, and his high has been the Cassie Ventura lawsuit. I know people call it 30, but I can't document over 20 million. 15% go to trial, and he wins. That would be 15 cases, high fees, $400,000 per case, but he doesn't have to do payouts, right? By the way, on those settlements, he's still got to drop about $200,000 per case, and I am basing this on what an average swinging Richard would have to pay for this kind of stuff, not Sean Diddy Combs. When they know you're a billionaire and you're in this kind of trouble, you're in this kind of trouble, right? This isn't good. 10% go to trial, and he loses. So 10 out of the 100 plus cases that he's probably going to be facing. Again, a lot of analysts think it'll be closer to 150. But high fees, $400,000 per case, plus judgments and settlements, assuming $10 million per case. Some people are suing him for $70 million. Some people are suing him for $100 million. But let's just say $10 million is the payout, right? Per cost ranges, you're looking at the legal fees, break that down. And what are you looking at? You're looking at something like this. Thrown out, $1.25 million in legal costs. Settled, $260 million. That would be the fees and the settlements, right? That's heavy. Won at trial, $6 million. That means you win, right? You win. This is why actors like Kevin Spacey go broke. Doesn't matter that you won. You don't get any of that cash back for winning. But let's say he wins that's still $6 million in fees. Lost at trial, an additional $104 million. Again, basing this on the smallest, nobody getting the $70 million they're asking for or the $100 million they're asking for, but your grand total is going to be $371 million. Mid-range, low end, $300 million. If more dismissals, lower settlements, higher end, up to $600 million. Ouch! That's a real problem, folks. And the real problem is he ain't got that much money. Plain and simple, he doesn't. And we know that his liquid assets, right? And I mean liquid, because obviously you can sell off stocks, you can sell off any of those kind of things and start making money. But about $100+ million is tied up in real estate. And he tried to sell this real estate. This real estate's been on the market. Nobody wants to touch the Diddy house. Nobody. He can keep dropping prices. Who wants to live at a house that people are going to show up at every day and go, hey, it's the rape house, right? That's where the freak-offs took place. I mean, maybe, there's a Marilyn Manson out there that wants to own that property, or somebody along the, I don't know, grooves to that kind of publicity or that kind of sickness. But it isn't going to be a bunch of people. I promise you that. Let's take a look at what those houses are costing him to own, right? Let's see if this is the right one, or did we go? Yeah, here we go. This would be the Homely Hills Mansion, 200 South Mapleton Drive, Los Angeles, California. You know what didn't make this easy to sell, Johnny Scoville? TMZ putting it on their tour stop. You talk about bad form. I mean, all of the people that claim they got raped there, and TMZ, classy Harvey Levin, puts it on the tour stop. Property taxes, $559,000 for 2025. That's based on an assessment value of $46.9 million. California's Prop 13 caps increases, but reassessment could push it higher post-sale attempts, because he's not doing pretty well with the sale attempts. Insurance, $150K to $300,000 annually. Luxury properties for $60 million plus average at, and this breaks down where I got these numbers from. Maintenance and upkeep, how about $610 to $1.8 million? Utilities, $50 to $100K a year. Wrap your dome around that, Johnny Scoville. He should move to Ecuador. Electricity, water, gas for massive estates with pools, theaters, and constant air conditioning in the LA heat, averages $4 to $8 grand a month for similar mansions. Security, $200 to $500 grand a year. Private guard surveillance upgrades, post-raid threats, celebrity level, often includes 24/7 monitoring and armor details. Total annual estimate, $1.6 to $3.2 million. Midpoint puts it at about $2.5 million. This one's been unsellable since listed in September of 2024, with the raid stigma adding to holding costs like vacant property fees. How about that? California hits you with a vacant property fee. You're living in there, but you own it, but you're not living there. We want a little bit more money. Here is the...
Jimmy Page bought Alistair Crowley's house.
He did.
Somebody buying that.
You know what? There's something to that. I mean, there are those people out there, but it ain't jumping off of the market right now, Johnny Skill.
He bought that Crowley's place a lot cheaper than Diddy's place.
You're damn right he did. And it was a much smaller property. All right, number 2 would be the Star Island Mansion. This is One Star Island Drive in Miami Beach, Florida. I believe this is the 9,000 square foot house. He owns 2 properties down there. No, this might be the smaller one. $666,744 property taxes. Yee. Insurance, 100 to 200K. Flood-prone island location hikes rates. Bummer. Maintenance and upkeep, $370,000 to $1.1 million. Water, 1 to 3% rural waterfront exposure means extra erosion control, docks, and humidity resistant systems. Staffing for 5,000 square foot. Yeah, this is the smaller one. At $100,000. Utility, 30 to 60K. High AC usage in humid climate. Plus pool water features. Yeah. Security, $150,000 for a total annual estimate of right again at about that $2.5 million mark. Great investments there, Diddler. Number 3, this is the Star Island Mansion, the big dog. This is 9,000 square feet. $673,000 a year in property taxes, expected at $700K for 2025 because it was assessed at $30.5 million in value. Insurance on this, $110,000 to $225,000 annually. Maintenance upkeeps, $450,000 to $1.35 million. Utilities, $40,000. Security, $100,000 to $300K. And homeowners association fee, $500 a year, apparently. It seemed really cheap to me. Kind of blew my mind. Total annual estimate, again, between 1.4 to that $2.5 million mark. Bought for $35 million in 2021. Raids, damaged interiors, adding unreported repair costs. Then again, what a bummer, right? These properties all are sucking up money out of this dude's life like you can't believe, as are his wildly expensive children, right? He has over $100 million in jewelry and watches. Now, I got a question for you. What do you think the odds are that he still has $100 million in jewelry and watches? I'm telling you, he's locked up in prison. You got Lou Taylor at TriStar not giving his kids over the allowance. In fact, his kids have to fight her every month. True story. The family flew out for the night before the sentencing, and they all got together for a big ass party. And TriStar said, "We're not paying for it." Somebody had to go into pocket and cover it, and they're still wrestling to try to get that cash. Allegedly, that is what's happened. So he's hemorrhaging money at a rate that is astounding. Keep in mind, $740 million 3 years ago, $300 million now, right? Even if we give it a midway, let's say we say $350 million, right? The people that really do this, like the forensic people, are saying that the cat's sitting on 300, let's say $350 million. That means he blew more than half of his net worth on one criminal case, settling one lawsuit, and just hemorrhaging money because nothing's coming in. And I mean nothing. Those estimates that I gave you for the $10 million a month, I promise you, is so damn generous you can't wrap your brain around it. By the way, he also takes care of Mama Combs. That means between the 7 kids and his mother, millions and millions of dollars are just getting hemorrhaged. He owns those 3 properties, and allegedly, there was a Toluca Lake property in California. I did right before I went live. I had to redo stuff because apparently that was sold. It was very difficult to find the paperwork on that, but that was sold last year. He had a house in Atlanta that he sold. This is why the net worth is dwindling. You understand? He has to start liquidating all of his shit. I'm going to make a prediction here for you. Before 2027, he's going to file for bankruptcy. It's the only way that he's going to be able to protect what he has now. I'll tell you something else. To insure a property, to insure anything, those insurance costs go through the roof if you're a predator. I researched this. Once they know who you are and there's all these lawsuits pending, They're afraid that someone's going to go, whoa, hey, it happened on a property that you guys insure. No one wants to touch the dude, but you can't have a $60 million home that you're not insuring the dog shit out of, right? You have to insure that property at unbelievably high rates, and those rates are going up. By the way, all of the insurance money that he paid for companies that he owns, right? And he owns Love Air, he owns Bad Boy, or a lot of Bad Boy. He owns all of these different sort of ancillary little shell companies or whatever that manage certain parts of his business. All of those have a liability umbrella thing over it. So if a guy falls down stepping outside of Bad Boy, he can't sue Sean Combs for everything he owns. Or if somebody gets hurt at one of the properties, they get hurt getting on or off of the jet. You know the one thing that every one of those policies I looked up says we're not helping you on? Go out on a limb. Rape. They ain't touching it. They say if you did something willful and sexual and you get sued over it, we're not covering you. You're on your own on this. So all of those premiums that he paid in there to take care of himself, that ain't going to fly. It's just not. Now, there are, believe it or not, insurance policies that cover if he got into a shooting or something like that, they'll cover it right up through the trial. Then if he's found guilty, they're probably going to send him a bill. But this guy's screwed 7 ways from Sunday. And now we all know who's holding the purse strings. And this broad's downright evil. I'm sorry, that's a humble opinion, right? Go ahead and sue me. I'm in Ecuador. But Lou Taylor has got more dirt on her than anybody in that industry, right? She really has one of the worst reputations in management of anybody alive. And yeah, loser sold his soul, says, boy, you know what? That about sums it up, doesn't it? And I got news for you. I don't know if you're following all the Will Smith drama that's going on. You guys are true crime aficionados. You probably are. It's sure costing him a lot of money not to stick to diddling his own self. I mean, he blew a fortune that literally nobody that's listening to me right now could have blown in their lifetime. He blew that in 3 years. And he was out there, right? He had the ability to oversee it and see what's going on. Guess what? He's got zero ability to look at that now. So you got $100 million worth of watches and jewelry sitting in your house. I doubt Lou Taylor came over and took possession of that stuff. You think that his son isn't going to go, let's sell a watch, right? Maybe he doesn't need that platinum chain with all the diamonds on it. Now, this was my line of work at one time. So let me tell you a little bit of something about watches. You can buy a watch for $100,000. When you put diamonds all over it, you can't sell it for $50,000. I'm telling you the truth. It absolutely destroys the value of an investment timepiece. But Diddy wasn't looking for investment timepieces. Now,
You can remove the diamonds and then sell it.
you can remove the diamonds, but the repair to the watch is insane. There is a company in Florida that does this. They do what is called precious metal welding. They literally will go in and weld the gold back into place using gold. They will go in and weld the platinum back into place or whatever, although platinum watches are iced out less than gold watches. Platinum's super hard. Now, I've seen a ton of watches that Diddy has. He's got a couple of Cartiers that are not iced out. He has a Pasha by Cartier. He's got several Rolex day dates of different ilks and different varieties that aren't iced out. Nevertheless, this jackwagon bought those at stores, right? And that may sound like, of course you would buy it at a store. People that invest in watches don't buy them at stores. Because if you walk into a Rolex store and you buy a Rolex day date, you're going to end up paying somewhere in the $35,000 to $65,000, depending on, what kind of options and stuff you get on the watch. Try to sell that the next day, even with the box and papers. And on the gray market, you ain't getting that. Now, there are Rolexes that you can walk in and buy off of the showroom floor, walk outside and sell for $10,000 more than you bought it for. I know that sounds crazy, but it's the truth. Like if you buy a Rolex Daytona Cosmograph, you have to be on a waiting list. Diddy could get one of those. Most people can't. I've been on a waiting list for 6 years to get one, and I've purchased 9 Rolexes, right? 9 Rolexes doesn't get anyone's attention. But to get one of those watches, there was a time at the peak where you could buy it for 38 grand. You could step outside and sell it for 120. But those days are over. The watch market right now is not in a great place. And I promise you, his kids aren't shopping around, right? They're going to liquidate all of the stuff that they can sell quickly, right? People used to say all the time, why do drug dealers and pimps and all those people wear all of that stuff all over them? And here's the truth. If you walk into jail and you got $4 grand in your pocket, it's going to go into an envelope and they're going to seize it until the case is over. They can't take anything of intrinsic value. So if you got a $40,000 watch on your wrist, they can't take it. You can release it to your kid who can go to a pawn shop, pawn it, and bail you out of jail. It's not just a flash thing where it wasn't back in the day. But Diddy has an incredible amount of jewelry. If you watch the 50 Cent documentary, you watch the guy walking up behind him while he's walking to put the third chain on. And Diddy said, yeah, no, I'm not, I don't need the third one tonight. He wasn't pimping, I guess, to that degree. But all of that stuff's going to go. And all of that stuff makes up part of his net worth. So you got $100 million in jewelry and in watches. God only knows what he's got left of that. But you got $100 million in real estate. That means there's only $100 million left in investments. And I estimated that at a return of 4 to 5%. He might be getting that. He might not. The models that normally do this, they run it at 3%. I bumped everything up to make this look better for Diddy. I'm not kidding you. The only thing that is just stone cold was like the property taxes and all that. That stuff is fact. There's no way to sort of go around that. Jewelry is much harder to trace. That is actually a really good point as well. He also had allegedly a decent collection of guns, which these are all super liquidatable assets. Like you can go and sell a gold bar instantly. I don't know if you ever saw the movie The Hangover, but in The Hangover 3, Chow goes in with a gold bar worth 400 grand, takes 18,000 for it. If you understood how badly you can get burnt over, if you have to sell something of very high value and you need the money immediately, the people that you go in to see go, oh man, if you'd come here 2 weeks ago, I mean, Rolexes were on fire a couple of weeks back, but right now, I mean, it would have to sit on my shelf. It's going to take a long time to sell it. How would 4 grand do for you? Pawn shops literally will offer you 10%. As a former watch broker, the dealer cost on a watch usually runs, like if a watch sells for 10 grand, the dealer probably pays 3. It's just sort of how it works. So if you got to go into somebody that brokers watches and say, I got to get rid of 10 of these, if the value on those 10 watches are 100 grand, you're going to be lucky to get 25. That's a bummer, especially when you've got 7 kids who like to rent yachts. Well, here's the deal. I only found one piece of art listed, and Diddy bought it for a ton of money a few years back. I'm sure that there's a lot of art in there that we would find very expensive, but it's not the kind of stuff you could put on the market and get huge money for. He does own a rare painting that he could probably get his cash back out of. But again, none of these things are liquid. These are assets that you have to sell. And just like the drug game or anything else, if the person you're going in to talk to knows you're the son of Sean Combs, then you're not getting what you want for it, because the whole world knows the guy's in real serious trouble. So if the art's worth 30 million or you paid 21 million for it and you go walking in there, they're not going to go, oh, well, we'll give you 21 million. They're going to go, oh man, I'd really like to help you. I know your dad's in bad shape, but the art market isn't where it was a couple of years ago. Sadly, that's how people in that business make a living, right? It has to be. You're not giving people what they own, what good Lord, let me try that one more time. You can't give someone what it's worth. You know, I used to run into this all the time buying watches. A guy would go, what is a watch like this worth? I'd go, $8,000. Great, I'll take 8 grand. And what am I going to do? Like, I can't make a living giving you what a watch is worth. There's just no way to do that. So you keep a pile of cash around so that you can buy watches from someone and you say, the best I can do is 4. If that doesn't work for you, you know, the other thing is when you buy stuff like that, they don't know the condition of the watch until they take the back off of it and really have a professional go through it. So if you're selling it really quick, they're going to say, man, this thing could be jacked on the inside. You know, they're going to take the back off to verify it's a Rolex. They're going to look through a loop and do all of that. But you're really going to have to do a disassembly on that watch, which is going to cost a ton of money. And if you want it done right, you're going to have to send it to someone who just works on Rolexes. And those cats get paid what lawyers do, right? They're going to be charging $750 an hour to work on that watch. All of these assets, really, so what we've got is this. He's going to have to start dumping properties and doing it quick. And a lot of people are going to leave comments and say, oh, he's hiding all of these assets now. No, he's not. There are forensic people right now that are up his rectum, right, with a microscope. They're not going to allow Diddy to start hiding funds while there are literally dozens, if not 100 lawsuits currently pending. 80 some odd lawsuits are currently pending. And there are allegedly close to 50 more that are working through the system. This is a guy that is going to have to just pay more money out to fight these cases than he is worth. That's a problem. And I've talked about this before. What happens when he runs out of money? That's the $1 million question, isn't it, Christy? That's the $1 million question. And I'll tell you a $1 million answer. He's not going to run out of money because these holdings aren't Sean Combs's, right? All of these things are in corporations, right? And there was a big hubbub once with a guy running for office, if you remember Mitt Romney. And he said, corporations are people too. And he got crucified for it. He wasn't a great communicator. What he meant is this. In the eyes of the court, there ain't a difference between Bad Boy and Sean Combs. One has a social security number. One has an EIN number. But they're treated the same way in court. A person can file bankruptcy, and so can a business. So he will go into some kind of bankruptcy protection, which means that if he owes $390 million, he's going to ask a judge to say, okay, we're going to pay out all but $10 million of that. We're going to let Sean Combs keep one property. We're going to make it so that the corporation is still going to pay everybody that gets owed, but they're not going to get paid exactly what they're owed. Now, this is a little bit less, some people find this very reprehensible. Tons of people. You will never meet anybody, Christy, that hasn't filed bankruptcy who's successful. I'm sorry, it's the truth. Bankruptcy protection is in place for a reason. And the reason it's in place is if you didn't have bankruptcy, the owner would go like this, take it easy. And they would walk out owing $100 million to manufacturers. If you're settling a lawsuit where somebody was awarded $70 million and the court says, give them 25, they didn't manufacture anything. There's suffering, there's pain and suffering, there's all that. But it's different than someone that had to buy something, pay employees, manufacture something, and then give it to you, which you don't get the money back for, right? So the bankruptcy laws were put into place to protect the people that build stuff. However, it also protects scumbags like Sean Combs. He will get much less love than somebody who was filing so that his company doesn't go out of business and they can still continue to pay their employees. Interesting fact, Johnny Scoville.
Sure.
That the PPP or PPE or whatever the hell it was called, when the COVID-19 thing, demonetized, just did it. When the COVID-19 thing was going on.
You said rape earlier.
I did say rape earlier. We'll throw a suicide in there just in case. When the whole COVID-19 thing was going on, you could apply to the federal government to have them reimburse you for having to pay your employees so that you didn't lose them, even though they couldn't come to work. Guess who got a huge ass payout? Sean Diddy Combs. That billionaire took money from the government for the employees that he wasn't having come to work. You know what, Cindy G? Honestly, the rules about how far you're in this, because this is a decent question, and no one knows anything. No one even knows what the algorithm is. Could be a bunch of chimpanzees in a basement eating bananas. Nobody knows. But here's what the general rule of thumb is. They say if you drop an F-bomb or you start cursing in the first 4 or 5 minutes, you're going to automatically be demonetized. But there's a whole list of words that you're not supposed to say at any point during your show. That's why you'll hear people talking and they'll go, so-and-so was on the front lawn by and they just blank out murder and assault and all of those things, because those are words that it's not YouTube that gives a crap. It's the people paying YouTube, right? They're going to run ads on this, in theory. An attorney told me bankruptcy has its roots in biblical times. Jubilee every year. You know something? This is going to be one of those bankruptcies because it's coming. I promise you. But this is going to be one of those bankruptcies that makes people sick because it is going to allow this guy to not be homeless, right? It's going to allow this guy to not lose everything he has. However, allegedly, he bought an apartment in New York.
He's got a lovely place.
Well, right now he's not homeless. Yeah, right now he's not homeless. He has a Nevada-shaped room. That's actually his is. He has a big-ass dorm. So, yeah, I'd almost rather be homeless. Tommy, problem with bankruptcy is someone has to fill the hole. Doesn't that mean we, the public, and the customers fill it up? Absolutely not. That's not even close to what happens. So I'll give you a perfect example, Christy. I owe $100 million to all of these different companies. I go in and I file bankruptcy, and they say, you're going to pay 50 or you're going to pay 30. They're going to look at my assets, what I can liquidate. All of those people get paid. The taxpayers never reimburse those people. They're out whatever they were lost. they will write off that on the taxes, but they can only write off a certain amount each year, so they can take it into the next year. And the next year, I think you can go 10 years. In some huge losses, you can go 20. But that tax base isn't coming out of your pocket. It's not. Those things don't raise taxes. The next administration raises taxes. Taxes don't get raised for any other reason other than politics. They can bullshit you and tell you otherwise, but research it. I promise you. And here's something fascinating, right? And I'll lose more subscribers, but this is a stone cold fact. There was a study done by the University of California years ago. They took the highest tax rate we've ever charged in the United States, and they took the lowest tax rate we've ever charged in the United States on the rich, right? The highest, believe it or not, was in the 90%. Now, that was over the first million or over the first 5 million. They just take 90% of whatever you make over that. And people go, I'm not making anything, right? I'm not going to go to work and give the government 90 cents out of the dollar. So the revenue slows down. The large corporations and the rich people don't invest in anything. That doesn't create factories. It doesn't create more jobs. So no matter whether we were at the lowest end or the highest end, the revenue that comes into the government is the same. So it just becomes an ideological thing. Do you think that this works or that works? It's the same shit any way you shake it. Right, left, it's the same bird. Right wing, left wing, it's all BS. And the less we believe that it makes a shit bit of difference, the better off we're going to be as a society and as a planet, I promise you. So back to Will Smith here real quick. If you have been following the Will Smith controversies that are going on, his wife's getting sued for $3 million by this cat named Brother Bilal. Brother Bilal's dropping a book, and this book has bombshells in it, right? I mean bombshells. And it talks about a young man by the name of Bashir Gray. He was on Empire, I believe, was the show that he was on. And he had a wife. Life was good. And then he went to stay with Will Smith in what was kind of like a flavor camp situation, like, happened to Usher with Diddy. He was going out there to learn the industry, hang out with some pros. And he allegedly, according to Brother Bilal, he allegedly said that Will Smith, R-worded his ass. That would be rape if you were paying attention. And he also said that Diddy forced him to give him a mouth hug, a couple of other guys as well. Then this kid kind of spins out of control, gets arrested a couple of times, doesn't look anything like he used to, and now he's doing gay porn on OnlyFans. Kind of a tough story. There are a lot of other stories in this book that keep dropping Diddy's name. Allegedly, according to the book, there was a $50 million lawsuit that was working through the system by this kid, Bashir Gray, against Diddy and Will Smith and a couple of other well-known people in the industry. And he got threatened to the point where he dropped it. We're going to see other lawsuits that are going to pop up. This book is going to get a lot of people talking about a lot of really, really ugly things. Let's say you file bankruptcy. Hold on a second. Let's say you file bankruptcy on a credit card debt because most charge a ridiculous interest. That interest from others covers your debt. Here's the thing on credit cards. And this is one of the things that I used to speak about. Credit cards hope that you don't pay them. As messed up as that sounds, they're hoping you don't pay them because what they're going to do is write off the entire debt. So let's say you owe a credit card company $1,000 and you just default. You don't give them a freaking dollar. They're going to write that off on their taxes, and then they're going to sell that debt to another company. And they're going to sell it for 50 cents on the dollar. That's a debt. Means it's only been sold to one company. Best chance of collecting is a debt. So they're going to sell you for 50 cents on the dollar, which means they just came up. And they are all in cahoots with the credit reporting bureaus. So now when you go out with shitty credit and you try to go get a car, they're going to run your credit 3 times, Equifax, TransUnion, and Experian. That's going to charge, let's say $75, let's say $100 for easy money. That's $300, right? That they're going to charge to run the credit on those 3 agencies. And then they're going to say to you, no, you can't get a car here. You're going to drive out of that lot. You're going to go to another car dealership and you're going to do the exact same thing. And over the course of 3 or 4 days, you might bring in $500 or $600 that they didn't have to do anything for, except report that you have bad credit until you end up at a buy here, pay here place. The credit card industry is one of the biggest scams that ever existed. If you can live without them, life is better, I promise you. Bankruptcies may be different here in Australia. A long time since I studied it. Thanks for your input. No problem at all. I'm sure that they're different. I am sure that they're different. And the reason that I say that is America is far more corrupt. My only problem with it is this. If we don't like bankruptcy, then we need to tell our politicians that they need to change the laws. But if the laws exist and people use them, that doesn't make them criminals. There are laws out there designed for this reason. Now, if Diddy files bankruptcy, Diddy is a criminal, right? The guy's in prison as we speak. He has 100 lawsuits that are going to be coming through from people, and some of them are really ugly, right? Like Joy Dickerson-Neal. Listening to that woman tell that story on the 50 Cent documentary, what do you think a jury is going to do for her? Diddy can't settle that case. If he does, he's going to have to pay a huge number, right? It's going to be in the 7 digits to pay that woman off. Maybe 10 million, maybe 20 million. And he's already said out loud, I was never alone with the chick. Paying her off would be a really bad idea for every other lawsuit. Yeah. So he's probably going to have to go to the box, right? Which is what criminals use the terminology for going all the way until you're literally having a jury decide the fate. Problem with that is a jury could go, let's give her 100 million, right? You're going to get damages, pain and suffering, right? And then there's punitive. So pain and suffering is this woman has had to live with this her entire life. And according to her testimony, she didn't just get sexually assaulted by this guy. He then used it as like a porn film to show everybody that knew her and him. That is lifelong pain and suffering. So let's say they award 10 or $20 million for that kind of lifelong suffering. Then you have punitive. And the purpose of a punitive damage is to scare the shit out of people like Diddy from ever doing this kind of thing in the future. And to bitch slap Diddy into submission so that when he gets out, he doesn't think it might be a good idea to do this again. Now, with all of the talk of him going out with the key to the city and calling himself a billionaire, they could very easily go, how about 100 million? That ought to get your attention. 10% of your net worth. Truth be told, it's about 30% of his net worth. I ran these numbers at $10 million if he loses a case. He could end up getting 10 million in punitive. He could end up getting 50 million in punitive. It just depends on how this works out for him. That's not a bad idea. That's the only reason to actually have them. And I did a show on this. I don't know if I did it behind the paywall or not, but I did a show on how you can manipulate that to get credit ridiculously quickly. You're right. You're absolutely right. More info will come out to the public too. You're damn right it will, right? Look at what happened just from the Cassie Ventura lawsuit. As these lawsuits move through the courts, every content creator that has ever covered Diddy is going to be running with every single one of them as if they are stone cold facts. I will not. But everybody else is going to. And I know this because I used to do it too, right? And the stories that have come out about Diddy, I look at every other content creator that covers this cat. I promise you I do. I'm fascinated by the entire subject. But most of it's bullshit. I'm sorry, it just is. Now, he's in trouble. This is legit. The story I'm telling you right now is completely 100% legit. TriStar is handling his finances. That's not a good thing because she's had more scandals than he has, right? Lou Taylor is tied to so many different scandals. For real, this woman carries a hay fork. She has horns, bifurcated tail, right? She's very Satan-like. I'm sorry, she really is. Right down to the church that she runs with the Kardashians. Would you feel comfortable going to a church that the Kardashians ran? Holy crap, dude. For real, it's like fox in the henhouse kind of a thing. It's just absolutely. By the way, there are membership fees to that church, and they're astounding. They're not tithes. They're astounding. They're huge money. And everybody goes out there and gets to hear, famous people sing and all kinds of stuff. It's frightening to me. Let's see here. Yes, but don't contractual settlements get paid first? Then if anything is left over, just trickles down to settlements. There are no contractual obligations left for Sean Combs. He's not manufacturing anything. He doesn't have all those people out there. His cars paid off in cash. His houses paid off in cash. There's nobody. He could have a contract to the pool guy that he's stiffing. He could have a contract to the security people that he's stiffing. But we're talking about millions of dollars, not enough to put a dent in the 300 and some odd million that he has left. If he was smart, he would have probably already filed. But as these things start to come, they're going to come in clusters. Cassie Ventura filed first, right? These things are going to start popping up where he's doing depositions every single day from the multi-purpose room at Fort Dix. He's going to be sitting in front of screens all day long. Allegedly, he's already refusing. One, he's saying, I'm not doing the deposition. Let me know how that works out for you, Sean. Let me know how that works out for you. Tell the court you're not doing something, and the court will just go, they'll just enter a default setting. I mean, default setting. Nice go. Default judgment. We'll just enter a default judgment. If you're not going to play the game, you don't want to do the depositions, you're screwed. It's that simple. This guy has got clusters of cases coming. And Ray J is in the hospital, severe case of pneumonia. He was making too much noise. Well, you know something? I believe they call that phomonia. I did a show on this. That's what, Diddy's wife died of pneumonia. So many people near Diddy died of pneumonia. It's terrifying. Although I don't know how much he could be pulling off from where he's at right now. You know something, Cindy G? You may not believe this, but I was kind of my wrap up on this show. So we'll get into it a little early. I wasn't probably going to go into this for about another 10 minutes, but it is the greatest point of the entire thing, and Cindy G nailed it. This ain't a dude who's going to be very comfortable filing bankruptcy, right? If he was smart, he would have already done it. But his ego isn't going to allow that to happen. His ego is going to drive him into the dirt. He cannot survive these lawsuits. And the crazy thing is, he knows it. There is no doubt whatsoever. No, Cindy, I appreciate it. There is no doubt whatsoever in this guy's mind that he can't survive this. He's watched his net worth in 3 years get cut in half by one lawsuit and one criminal case. What if, and I didn't put this in there because it is a variable that there's no way to quantify. So I'll just do it with you for yits and giggles. Let's say that 2%, Johnny Scoville, of those cases turn into criminal cases. Cassie Ventura's did. When all of the details come out, if that stuff falls within a statute of limitations, then all of a sudden you have a criminal case. The criminal case has bled him half dry already. By the way, you know what else I didn't put into any of that math? Because again, it's a hard thing to quantify. We don't know how many of those cases they're going to hire private investigative firms to go out and try to track down people and do all of that. That's expensive stuff. I also didn't put in that in every one of these cases, a PR firm is going to have to step in to try to keep the press from destroying him. They did it when he was at his trial. There were PR people out front every day trying to talk to content creators, doing everything they could to try to stem the blood flow, right, from Diddy getting his throat cut reputationally. This dude's got a horrifically bad reputation. That's not something that's fantastic when you're going into these kind of lawsuits. If you look at, there's precedence for this. You know what? Do you know what? Who's the guy with the pudding pops?
That'd be Bill Cosby.
Bill Cosby. $100 million. Look, Bill Cosby paid out allegedly in settlements. And Bill was not nearly as prolific, right, as the diddler. They did have something in common, though. They found it a lot easier to get laid if you put a bunch of drugs in a chick's drink, right? So they're going to be similar in settlements because this kind of sleaze pisses off juries. Yeah, they are. They're wannabe necrophiliacs. I think that's actually one of the smartest things you've said. And you have said a few smart things. Will Diddy be on probation after he gets out? Oh, yeah. Robin Miners, good to see you, man. Really good to see you. I am relaxed. I think my new lifestyle suits me. Nikki said 50 Cent said he doesn't know why Diddy didn't file for bankruptcy. Ego, like Cindy G said. Ego isn't going to let this guy file bankruptcy. He's a pimp. He's been a pimp since he was 6. If you saw the documentary, right? He was dressing in mink and in chinchilla coats when he was 6 years old. Had rings on every one of his fingers, right? He's always been that dude. You understand? He's going to be on probation for 5 years when he gets out. That probation is not going to let him manage anybody. He can't be in a management position, which is how he made his money and how he did everything he's ever done. Lisa Trimble, good to see you. The headache has been gone for at least a day. So far, so good. I'm doing all right. You did? That's a bummer. So he's going to be on probation for 5 years after he gets out. He's not going to be able to work in the music industry in the way that he did. Could he go on tour? If his probation officer is cool with him going from city to city, I worked as a public speaker. Didn't make the kind of money that a guy touring the country does. But public speakers make a buttload of money, right? You can make in a month what a school teacher would make in a year. It's not fair, but it's the truth. People don't like public speaking. They pay public speakers a lot of money. So when I got out, I said to my probation officer, I'd like to go on the road. And he said, oh, we can't let you do that. And I said, what if in every city I went to, I just checked in with the local federal probation department, and I could call my number. And if I had to go take a piss test, I could take it in Chicago, or I could take it in New Hampshire. I could take it in Vegas, wherever I needed to go. They went, yeah, no, we're not going to let that happen. And what it comes down to is they want complete control over you. Yeah, this definitely happened. I know content creators that have been very open about people getting stalked and people getting paid to stop their coverage. I wish you would have offered me a little. I stopped it for free. You know what, Wendy R? I have done acupuncture for migraines, but I used to have a great acupuncturist when I lived in Utah, and they used to give me the needles to go home and to tell you exactly where to do it and all that. I would have to start getting back into that. I hadn't had them in a really long time. So, but Diddy's people have been vicious. His PR campaign has never stopped, and he's hemorrhaging money. There have been allegedly a bunch of people that have already been paid off. There have been a bunch of cases where Diddy's team has already settled, and it makes sense, right? Where the hell did that $350 or $380 million go to? Well, a lot of it went to paying off people that they couldn't afford to let go to court. And it's in Diddy's best interest. So I ran through about 5 different AI models. Does this guy have a chance of surviving this? And every one of them basically said the same thing. If you want to survive this, here's your best bet. Your attorneys need to settle as fast as possible with every single person you can possibly get to take $5 million or $4 million or $3 million. You go in and you lowball them, you offer them $1 million, but you do it before that stuff starts getting into court. And you do it with non-disclosure agreements, and you do it with all kinds of stuff to keep people to shut the hell up, right? You know what? It's a great. What can he speak on? How to be a sexual deviant? Yeah, not a bad call. And I'm not being funny. His probably only hope when he gets out is to do a kind of a redemption arc kind of thing where he comes out and falls on his sword and says, I was a scumbag. I got so into drugs. And by the way, this isn't the truth. Believe me, it's not. Drugs don't turn you into a sexual deviant. It may allow who you are to come out. It may give you confidence to be the scumbag you are, but they don't turn people from a normal person to somebody that wants to do the things that Diddy did to people. That's bad wiring, and he's had it from Jump Street. You know, he was Puffy. Puffy was his original nickname, and he didn't get that nickname, from Blazin'. He got that nickname because he would get so pissed off that he would swell up, his face would get all big. He was an angry child. Allegedly, his mom beat the piss out of him. We heard his best friend say that the beatings that he saw Diddy take still haunt him. And I saw Diddy on a talk show, and his mother was sitting in the audience, and he said, I understand you saw a lot of parties and things when you were a kid. And he said, yes, I did. And he goes, my lovely mother's there. And they point the camera out. She went, and he took a lot of beatings. And she said it with a disturbing kind of pride in her voice. Right. So, and I'm not giving the guy a pass, no more than I give, Nick Reiner or anybody else a pass. You do the crime, you do the time. That's just the way it is, man. And if you got screwed up as a kid, oh, well, right. You're still going to have to become a human being. Diddy hasn't done that. He could get out and write a tell-all book, and he could implicate crap loads of people that were in freak-offs with him. And you know what? He could probably make enough money to live for a few months. But if you gave Sean Combs $20 million when he got out of prison, there's no way he could make that last. This dude has lived like an emperor for so damn long. One of his favorite things to do is to go on boats that rent for $350,000 to $600,000 a week. Right? This guy doesn't have a lifestyle that any of us can wrap our brain around. Now I can wrap my brain around his lifestyle right now. He's going to the store and trying to bum a meat chub from the dude next door, and that's actually it's not what you think. Tommy, anyway, we can find out who he has settled with. Yeah, you know what? We can't find out who he settled with already, but as these cases go forward, like the 80 plus cases that are moving forward currently, these are in the court system. which means if they disappear without a judge saying, all right, there's no merit to this, or the plaintiff, blah, blah, blah. When they start disappearing out of the court system, then he's paying them off. And the smart play is to do that. Unfortunately for him, and this is a super unfortunate thing, every single person that has accused him of anything, the same statement has been made. Unequivocally, I deny all of this. None of this happened. There's no truth to any of this. Your credibility goes to dog shit. What?
It's a money grab.
It's a money grab. It's another very popular one. This is just a person trying to make money and take advantage of a black businessman who's trying to make it in this world. Man, you ain't trying to make it. The interest on your money would have been enough for you to make it. The interest on his money at one point was estimated at $60 million a month. Huh? $60 million a month. He was making off of investments, not off of anything else, but investments. And he blew all that. Revolt's gone. Sean John is defunct. Bad Boy has boarded up in front. His music catalog is there, but he's not going to be able to sell it for much. I mean, Biggie, you could sell, the Biggie part of it. However, Warner owns a chunk of this. He's in so much trouble. And there are lawsuits that are going against him that have nothing to do with sexual. I shouldn't say that. They all have something to do with sexual assault. But there are business lawsuits, right, going against Sean Combs right now for hiding assets that he was supposed to give to entertainers, all of these different things. His biggest problem, you know what? Greed is deadhead. You're right. Yeah, there are 80 currently moving through the system. In the 80s, I rounded it down. Every model says something different, right? When you start trying to research this, even going through like Westlaw or any of the Lexus, whatever that is, what we're looking at is somewhere in the 80s. That's what they're saying. However, there's a crap load more pending, right? Every expert who weighs in on this says he's probably going to have to fight by the time it's all said and done, somewhere between 100 and 150 million. So I took it with the numbers I showed you. I ran that at 100 cases, and I ran it at 100 cases with them tossing 25 out. Cases don't normally get tossed out once they're in there. A judge has to look at it and go, all right, we're going to let this go forward. You know what? A lot of people have suggested this. Betty's got stashes with cash everywhere. I would be willing to bet any amount of money that he's probably got 40 or 50 million dollars tucked away. He's probably got some stuff in offshore accounts, but I don't believe for a second that he was smart enough to really do anything intelligent that way. And here's why. This man owns a fleet, right, of wildly expensive automobiles. Nobody intelligent does that. I'm sorry, they don't. What they do is they lease them because you can drive that car for a year and you're going to spend 50 grand to drive it for a year. You can drive it off the showroom floor for 300,000 and it's worth 150 by the time you get home. He has all of those. His homes are paid off. And you can go, well, that's fantastic. You don't have a monthly bill. When you make the kind of money that this dude was making, you need monthly bills. You need to be able to write off the depreciation on the note. You have to be able to do all of these things to sort of cut back. He didn't. And I would imagine that Lou Taylor would have recommended to him that you don't own all of this in cash, especially living the life that he lived, because now you've got these properties which are literally sucking you dry, right? The amount of money, I put this up. If you didn't see it, you can go back. I've got graphs. I got the whole shooting match up there. But this alone is that there's so much money going out and there's so little coming in that even if there weren't lawsuits, it's going to be hard to weather the storm for how he's living versus what he's making. But with these lawsuits, he does not own an island. He's never owned an island. Any report of that is BS. He's never owned a yacht. People report that too. He's never owned a yacht. He rented those. He has rented islands in the past, but he does not own any islands. The only properties he has left, he has one in California. He has two in Florida, and allegedly, but you can't find this because I'm sure that it's under someone else's name or whatever. But when he was going through and trying to get probation, he claimed that he had bought an apartment in Manhattan, Manhattan's Lower East Side, so that he could do his not probation, his bail. When he wanted to get out on bail, he bought a place there. Now, he may still own that. If he does, he might want to consider moving into it, because the first time somebody pops this dude for $20 million, he isn't going to be able to get it. In liquid assets, I'll put this back up one more time because I think that this graph tells a pretty disturbing picture. This is an estimate by really intelligent people, unlike me, because I'm not very intelligent. Let's do this one more time because I'm covering part of the graph there with Deadhead's comment. I was told there would be no intelligence required. This is YouTube. Here we go. This is of the $300 to $350 million that he currently has. This is a makeup of where that money is. So that pink part, that real estate, that's over $100 million in real estate. He ain't getting $100 million out of that. He's not, especially if he has to get it out fast. And you can't ditch it. If he was making payments on it, it would be a much different situation for him. But as far as the courts go, that's a hard asset. It isn't liquidable, right? It's going to take a while to sell it, but it's a hard asset, which means they can put a lien on it. So when he does sell those properties, everybody gets paid off. That music catalog in blue, and I'll tell you what, man, I gave him a generous amount of money on that music catalog because most people, look, even if you do 10 times earnings, right? Let's say you do 10 times earnings or you do 20 times earnings. You're still only looking at like $20 million. That thing is only earning him about $1 million to $1.5 million a year. I know that sounds crazy, but it's the truth. But I gave him a very generous amount on that. I did with all of this. And that yellow part is what he made from the $200 million that Diageo paid him. I promise you it's not still there, but it's hard to track because you can't track what somebody invested in. It's very, very difficult to do that. But that little purple sliver that you see there, it's parked at about 11 o'clock. If he had to get money out of the bank tomorrow, that's what he could get out. $10 million. $10 million. This guy's not in good shape, people. He is in really, really bad shape financially. And it's only getting worse by the freaking day. Every day, it's getting worse because the amount of money that is coming in versus the amount of money that is going out. I'll put this up one more time just because it freaking cheers me up, Johnny Scoville. Honestly, this is a bad dude, man. Normally, I don't take joy in people's downfalls, but this is the annual cash flow imbalance. So if you see what he's got coming in, what's that, about $10 million a year? What he's got going out, right? Look at the outflows, $45 million. That means he is in the negative $35 million annually. I mean, you can put a 2 in the chat if you would just like to be able to have what his deficit is annually. Life would be freaking fantastic if you just had the ability to have his deficit annually. In fact, over the course of your lifetime. But that's what he's hemorrhaging every single year now. And it's only going to get worse because the lawsuits ain't even started, right? Those lawsuits ain't even started. The only lawsuit, that big public one that has been settled, was Cassie Ventura, right? And what damage did that do, Johnny Scoville? Well, I'll tell you, it cut his net worth in half. When Cassie filed that lawsuit, he was worth $740 million. Allegedly, the year before, he claimed he was a billionaire. No one has ever backed that up, by the way. No one has ever backed that up. There's no paperwork out there anywhere. The closest that I can find that he ever got near $1 billion is $740 million. Why is that important? I'm not sitting here mocking the guy. I've never had $740 million, right? And I used to go into banks and just run out with the money. I still never got anywhere close to that, right? So I'm not mocking him for that. What I'm doing, though, is painting a picture like Cindy G said earlier. This is a guy whose ego drives his entire life. Ego and desire. The only two things that drive this dude's life. And his ego isn't letting him do what the prudent thing to do would be. Protect your assets and do it quickly. I mean, every one of these cases, you have said you didn't do any of them. Now you're going to start settling them? It's not like he's got a ton of credibility anyway. This is the same guy that said, I never put hands on her. I don't put hands on women. Oh, you got a video? Well, I was at a really low place in my life. I was doing drugs. Man, I hit rock bottom, but I'm getting clean. I mean, he is what he is, right? He's a narcissist. He's a manipulative piece of shit, and he's a guy that likes to hurt women. And maybe that gets back to Janice Combs beating him his whole life. I don't know. But there was nobody he was ever with that he didn't put hands on. Right? That's all you need to know. And every once in a while, someone will give me hate for this. But if you put hands on a woman, you should be shot in the forehead. I'm sorry. It's just that simple. If you're a guy and you hit a chick, you should be shot in the forehead. So just to recap, Sean Diddy Combs is sinking like the Titanic. All right, do it with me on 3, 2, 1. Oh, no. I hope that this man, the rest of his life, he has to try to figure out a way to live like a normal person because he is evil incarnate, for real. It makes perfect sense that his money is being managed by Lou Taylor. It really does, right? Because, demons of a feather flock together. You know what? IMBD link posted. Say max 180 million in jail. I don't know what that means. Do you mean that's what his net worth is? So I went, if you, I can list all of the different places that I went to find his net worth. I literally, 42 different places I checked, starting with Forbes and working my way backwards from there. I would love it if he was worth 180 million. That would be fantastic. But he is, but that's where this cat is at, right? Forbes, all of the different large organizations that do this kind of thing are working this guy's net worth at about $350 million. I'd be willing to bet you the farm it's less than that. I really would. Again, 100 million in jewelry and watches. Good freaking luck getting $100 million out of that. They're going to list that as $100 million in asset, but you ain't going to get anything even close to that. You might want to go back and start at the beginning, CM. What do I mean the rest of his life? He should go to the Caribbean to live his own island. He doesn't have an island in the Caribbean. He only has 3 properties. I went over what those properties are costing him each month. If you go back from the beginning, I will break down this man's finances and give you a real idea of what this dude is going to be bankrupt. He cannot survive the lawsuits that are coming. And I did that generously. I said they're going to throw out 25% of them. He's going to win this many of them. I put the settlements at this big. He cannot survive the lawsuits that are coming. There's no chance financially. Look at guy from Usual Suspects. Why do I have such a block on his name? Kevin Spacey. You can go into court and win every single one of your cases. They don't give you the money back. If you go in and somebody accuses you of something and you get sued for $50 million, you go in and win, right? You still lost $20 million in the process. How many of those can you endure if you have $350 million net worth? And CM, I hope you're still here. Check this out, right? Check this out, just in case you missed this, right? So this is $350 million. That purple is what he's got, liquid assets, $10 million. That music catalog right there, try selling it. And I did this generously to beat hell. But that yellow section right there is what he got from Diageo, $200 million. Most people assume that's been cut in half. But any way you shake it, he has $350 million. And real estate, and that all of those things have to be sold to get that $350 million. Good luck selling the 2 or rape houses, right? Now, one of his properties was not linked to any of those crimes. He had bought it late in the whole scandal of being Diddy. But the large one, the 9,000 square foot one at Star Island in Florida, and the one out in LA, that huge monstrosity that he's got out there in LA, those 2 homes were raided. Everybody knows those were Diddy houses. Everybody knows that they're going to be able to pull DNA off of the walls of that place in 10,000 years. It's just a nasty, disgusting. No one wants their name associated with that, right? There are rich people that buy homes like the ones that the OJ thing happened in, and they just go in and tear them down and put up new ones, right? But buying something for $50 million, Diddy didn't have palatial estates. I mean, they're big, they're beautiful, but it's not like the places you see that are sitting on 100 acres. These are master plan communities full of mansions. He's going to have a very difficult time unloading those for what they estimate their values at $100 million. I'll bet you he ain't going to get 80 out of it. They say he's got $100 million worth of jewelry and watches. He'll be lucky if he can get 40 out of that. How many of them say bad boy on it or a big D or any of these things that people don't want? Joanne Marie, could you put it up your question one more time? Because I don't remember what your question was. I'm sorry. Would he still be paying the same or more inside? He has to absolutely continue to pay everything while he's inside. Nothing stops on that. He has to cover all of those. Even with the houses paid off, you're looking at $500,000 on between the 3 houses, $1.5 million in taxes, right? He bought massive properties and he's taking it on the chin. He has to have security for those houses. He has to have upkeep, especially the ones in Florida. That weather will destroy a house. It will destroy a house. There are people working on those houses every single day, and he's got to keep paying for that. He's got kids that have to be put through school and tuition and all that. Even his adult children live off of him. He set up a life that you have to continue to make money in order to survive. If he had not gotten into trouble, when the Cassie Ventura lawsuit fell, he had $740 million. Now he's got $350. He lost more than half of his net worth. And now he's got to face somewhere in the ballpark of 100 new lawsuits. Cassie was just one. And just one that turned into also a criminal case. Out of the 100 that are pending, what if 1% turns into to cases? And then he's going to lose another how much in legal fees? What if 3% do? Right? Just 3 new criminal cases. This dude's life, I promise you, ain't going to be spent on an island, whether he owns it or someone else does. Diddy's going to go tits up. There's no way he can survive this. Yeah, Joanne, if you can repost your question, I promise you I'm not going to be able to get back there and find it. Hannah and Layla. Welcome, guys. Glad you're here. Lisa Trimble says, Florida equals mold. I should know. And she does. She's been fighting this now for a very, very long time. It is, any of those kind of climates are very, very tough on houses. There we go. There we go. Saving his finances would be investments in random stocks if he has them. Well, they estimate that he has a certain percentage of stock. That was the yellow part. What he got out from Diageo, he didn't leave cash in the bank. Diageo literally wired him a couple of $100 million, and he invested into things. There's an internet company that ain't making much money. We know he invested in that. He put a lot of money into Revolt, but he didn't get out what he put into Revolt. You know, all of these things that he had invested into, he lost his his backside on. How long do you suppose that Jay-Z is going to be able to take a slide by his alleged questionable activities? So here's the thing on Jay-Z. I don't know enough about Jay-Z's past. I ran with stories that other people said when the whole Diddy controversy was going on. But I don't know enough about Jay-Z. I know a pretty decent amount about Diddy. And you would think if even 5% of what was said about that cat was true, then he'd already be in a hell of a lot of trouble. But to be really honest with you, look, the number of cases that were reported about Diddy were literally 2 or 3 times, right, the number of cases that are proceeding forward. That means that if you take 10% out for people that just said, nah, I don't want to go through with this. Yeah, he really did this to me, but I don't want to go through this process. Take that out. Be generous. Say 50%. That means there were 150 lawsuits out there at a minimum that people just straight made up. And once this frenzy started, once this feeding frenzy started, it was almost like a satanic panic. It really was. Like the whole world had Diddy fever. And maybe Jay-Z is as big a scumbag as Diddy is. I tend to believe that he is. However, I'm not seeing a whole lot to document it in the same way that it was with Diddy, right? We will find out, though. I promise you we will find out. If he is what they say he is, he's not going to be able to survive this either. Because as these lawsuits start moving through the court system, as all of the information that's going to be coming out in Brother Bilau's book, that's a book that everyone is going to want to read. But as all of these things start getting into the public eye, we will get through round 2. And in round 2, there will be other people whose lives are going to fall apart. Will Smith, in my humble opinion, is going to be probably the next person that really watches his life fall apart. I think that that's a very high probability. And Cindy G says 150 watching and 73 thumbs. You know what? I would appreciate the heck out of doing me a little thumbs up. And you know what? Johnny Scoville, they should hit subscribe if they haven't. These are subject matters I will continue to cover. You know what? What a great comment. What a great freaking comment. So hit subscribe, hit that bell for notification. Yeah. Put a thumbs up, leave a comment, do that YouTube thing. Too many people with no souls out there. Maybe a handful would buy his watches, etc., with his name or his logo all over it just for show at parties, or even to lock in a safe for grandkids to sell in 50 years. It's sad. You know what? The jewelry with all of the stuff on it, there are people that will buy that because the rap industry is really big on that kind of flash. But honest to God, you buy a $100,000 watch and then you ice it out, you put diamonds and stuff all over it, you drop the value of the watch by half. It's no joke. I know people that just buy them for pennies on the dollar and then try to restore them and get them back to the condition they're in. And then they take all of those diamond chips and fill a bag this big and sell them back to the jeweler so that they can re-ice those watches. But I mean, Diddy's got one of the watches he has is a Cartier. It's an automatic movement. It's in a 42. It's a beautiful watch. It's in white gold, and he iced the hell out of it. That watch is worthless now. It's worthless. Because even the people that want that aren't going to want to buy it used. They all have their own thing they want to do. They're going to put this on it. They're going to put that on it. And when you have to sell watches, you're in trouble. When you want to sell watches, you'll do fine. You know, I did this for a living, and I could put a watch on the market, and if it sat there for a year, who cares, right? I'll ride it out. Eventually, it's going to sell. That's not the situation that Diddy is going to be with any of these assets. Does that make sense to you? Lots would bid on it out of morbid curiosity. I don't know that they would buy it, right? Jay-Z's disgusting, but he is smart. I think there's something to that. No, I didn't pay full price. I absolutely didn't. And I wasn't under the gun. I never had to move watches in order to keep alive. And I promise you, here's the thing with his watches. There's $100 million worth of watches and jewelry in his houses where his kids are. I'm sorry. That impresses me as the kind of family that might take dad's stuff to a shop and sell it. They're not gonna let their lifestyle. In fact, their kids are fighting, allegedly, they're fighting with TriStar, the company that's owned by Lou Taylor, because they're not getting enough money. They don't have enough to live on. They're pissed, right? So this is not Cindy says never sell based on need. I'm telling you. That's a very intelligent comment. I grew up watching Jay-Z, and especially Aaliyah, young girls and artists. Rhiannon was flown and held in his office and made to sign. Yes, I am familiar with that story. And that story has gotten an awful lot of press. She said it out loud. There's a lot of people that believe that he was responsible for the plane crash. But these are stories, right? And I'm not saying that they're true or not true. What I'm saying is that at this moment, they're hard to prove or make anything out of. I know that Rihanna said that, right? But I got to believe that after saying that out loud, that people have contacted her. And when they contact her, if she says, well, it really wasn't like that. He didn't hold me in there and force me. I kind of said it in an interview. People tend to backpedal a lot off of things that are said. And we live in a world now where the sound bite just keeps getting repeated and repeated and repeated. And it doesn't have to be true, right? Because the flavor of the sound bite will stick around even when the thing is over, right? We talk about this all the time, but perception and truth are two really different things. I think the guy's a scumbag. I have no problem documenting that Diddy's a scumbag, right? You can look at people like Joy Dickerson-Neal. Listen to that woman's testimony and tell me you think she's BSing. And then when you see one after the other of these people that say, I woke up after being drugged, or I had somebody contact me and tell me that they saw a video of me getting sexually assaulted by two men. I have no memory of this happening. Those kind of recurring things just keep happening. And it has been so well documented what a dirtbag this guy is. I'd be really happy. Oh, my Lord. You know something that's really funny? You're not wrong. Francis Ford Coppola is going to ditch his entire watch collection, and there is a really good chance that that is something that I would want to watch in excruciating detail. If it's something that's done on a video version, it may be something where, if it's done on Lloyd's or if it's done in Christie's or any of the big auction houses, they usually won't let you watch those live online. But, oh, man, would I love to take a look at that man's collection. All right, people. Bottom line is this. I promise you the biggest problems in this dude's life, Crete, Illinois. Molly makes the lines blur or disappear. Yes, it does. But I think he was probably doing a lot more of the gamma hydroxybutyric acid or large amounts of benzodiazepines. These people literally woke up with no recollection at all of what was going on. MDMA doesn't tend to make people get knocked out, right? It's a methyl-based drug. So the meth in it tends to keep people awake for 8 hours. He was doing stuff that was going to take people in the opposite direction so that he could sexually assault them without anybody seeing it or remembering it. And it's just he's a low-life piece of shit. He's Danny Masterson with a bigger budget. All right, people, I am Tommy. I got a lot more to do. There's definitely going to be one more show today. There might even be two. There's just a lot going on in the world, and we're going to be talking about it. Between now and the next time I see you, put a smile on your face, right? If for no other reason than to go, Diddy ain't getting out of this one without going bankrupt. Oh, no. I'm Tommy. God bless. I'll see you on the next one. Oh, no.